We're gonna do the classroom thing. If you can hear me, raise your hand. Yeah. Love it. Group thing. I love yelling, but it's actually amazing how well that works. Before we get started properly, a lot of questions, of course, about the dragon pillow, which again, if you don't have one yet, plenty to go around. And it comes from this. Someone says, hey, I started using Unreal Engine with UDK. I've seen this guy quite a bit. What's he supposed to be? Where's he come from? It's been bugging me since 2009. Not really sure what to Google. So please yield in gods and goddesses of Unreal Engine. Share some of your wisdom with an unworthy user and allow his soul to finally achieve peace and ascend to nirvana. And it says, that is the default icon for a billboard component. For those who don't know what a billboard is, it's anything that is like always facing the user or the player, which can be used to create an icon for your blueprint. Using one of these makes it much simpler to find a blueprint in your level. If you don't supply one of these, you will only be able to select it from your scene outliner. It will not show up in the world. You can change the icon texture that is shown by changing the setting in the component option as actor. I believe by default, this might also be what you see for, there is something in Unreal Engine that this is actually the default icon for as well. If anyone knows, just shout it out. But I know I've seen this as like a default thing as well. But yeah, the icon design dates back to 1995. Default actor icon, yeah. For those who don't know, anything in Unreal Engine that lives in your scene is an actor. If it doesn't actually go into your scene, into your level, into your map, it's actually called an object. Things like a game mode and things like that. Yeah, created by Dan Cook, along with the original Unreal Engine icons. Why is it Dragon Head? That's another story. It goes back to the very early days where the game Unreal arose from combining Schmaltz's early 3D prototype work featuring dragon flying over 3D terrain written in hand-coded assembly language with my work creating 3D editing tool for the project, which later grew to become the original Unreal Engine. Oh, I thought there was no mic. That mic. Mic there, great. Is this better? Can people hear in there? It's for the other room primarily. You mean for the other room? Great, thank you. Closer to the mic. Anyway, just a little bit of fun trivia there, and now we'll get started. But yeah, look at that. Fun, fun, fun. And the thread goes on and on and on. Welcome, everyone. So good to have you here at our December event. Kind of our final event of the year, but as you'll see in a moment, there's kind of one more, a little epilogue, as we might say, for the year. In this December event, we want to give a special thanks to the School of Visual Arts, which is where we are right now. Clap for them. Clap, 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 clap. And in particular, Rochelle, who is right there, who's kindly helped organize and set this all up. Thank you, Rochelle. And of course, the food and the pillows, the swag, that is coming from our friends at Epic Games. Thank you, Epic Games. And our speakers tonight, this is the first time we're doing 3 speakers. It's going to be fun. We have Andrew Delgado, we have Yu-Jun, and we have Ajinkya. I'm going to mispronounce your last name, Hukerikar. Try again. Hukerikar, yeah. Now you say my last name. It's fun when we... Close, Coulombe, that's pretty good. Yeah, so that's going to be fun. So quick agenda, welcome announcements and shameless plugs. We'll see the talks. And then remember this, note it down because this is the only slide where you have it. Afterwards, if you're like, where'd everyone go? I was having such great conversations. I want to keep talking. You're going to want to go to Jake's Saloon on 23rd Street between 7th and 8th. Got it? Jake's Saloon, going once, going twice. Next slide. Okay, couple quick announcements. This is also kind of under shameless plugs. June over there and I just gave a fun talk the other day as part of XR Bootcamp. Meta has a big competition going on, and we gave a little talk on how to package for Unreal Engine, with Unreal Engine for MetaQuest Pro devices. Really lovely presentation put together by June. And then I also had the pleasure of speaking alongside Philip Johnson of Alchemy Labs about using Unreal Engine with OpenXR across a lot of different headsets and devices. QR codes there if you are curious to see those free presentations on the YouTubes. You can also just Google XR Bootcamp. Reminder, don't forget that we've got a Discord page. And so this is the Discord on the right. On the left is the QR code for the new communities page. Currently, we're primarily using Eventbrite as we gather all you lovely people together. Epic Games would like us to be more rooted in communities.unrealengine.com. By the way, if you know anyone in other cities or you're visiting from another city and you're like, I wish there was an Unreal Engine meetup group here, communities.unrealengine.com would be the place to either find it or start your own. So we're going to be moving more toward there once our Eventbrite membership runs out. For now, we're just going to keep kind of double posting in both locations, but please do join both of these and we'll see you there. A couple other events coming up. Our friends at NYVR, that is going to be on December 10th. And we'll be speaking at that event among many other talented, brilliant people using VR across Unreal Engine, Unity, Godot, and beyond. And then there's also a holiday party that we are kind of co-hosting. This is a super collab with XR Guild, Augmented World Expo, NYVR, VR ARA, Unity NYC, Unreal NYC, the Polys, and XR Motion. I thought there was a QR code for that, but if you Google XR Holiday Party New York City, it's going to be the only thing that comes up. It is $20 because it's not particularly sponsored, so we're trying to make sure that no one loses their shirt making this happen, but it's going to be an epic event, lots of cool people, and we're happy to be a co-sponsor of it. We might bring more swag, we'll see. And then epic thanks to all the people we already thanked. One more round of applause for SVA and Epic Games kindly hosting us and helping us have a good time, putting food in our bellies. And yes, and Kevin put this together. So extra thanks to Rochelle and Terrence Masson, of course, who was my first contact here at SVA many years ago and has always been incredibly helpful supporting the community. So that's great. We encourage students to push their preconceived boundaries and embrace early experimentation as a critical part of the iterative process. SVA is a wonderful school, especially when it comes to utilizing various emerging technology. If you have any friends considering a place to go to college, consider SVA. And we already did some shameless plugs, but please do come to Christmas Carol VR. June will be talking more about this at length, but it is a free show we put on every year. This is our 6th run of shows, and all you need is a MetaQuest device or YouTube if you want to watch the live stream. And it's a fun show that we love to showcase new things we're playing with. And again, June will be talking more about that. There are shows that have already started. We had some previews last week, and it's going to go right up until Christmas. Some fun things will be happening Christmas Eve. Keep an eye out for that. And now it is time for talks. The order of these is going to be a little bit different. So we're going to start off with Ajinkya talking about amazing virtual production work at zero density and beyond. Take it away, Ajinkya.
Thanks, Alex. This is fine, right?
Yeah, I think we just want to be like
Can you confirm
relatively close to that one.
All right. Let me see if I can close the comment.
I'll go check on the other space.
Yeah. All right. So, good evening, folks. My name is Ajinkya Hukerikar, and I'm here to break down virtual production using Unreal for you guys. I feel like when I started in this space, I almost thought that virtual production is something that big studios have access to, and some kind of rocket science that does not get into my brain very easily. But as and when you keep getting into it, like it took me 5 years to get there, where I work with okay, you know what? Let me just talk about my story, give you a little context first. So I got into filmmaking at the age of 9. My first film, Telu, got awarded got internationally acclaimed at festivals at the age of 14. I got a national award at 16. Worked at Bollywood for about 7 years. It wasn't all song and dance, but it was fun. I think I kept coming back to one question constantly, which was, how do we use technology to push the boundaries of visual narratives? And innovation was a space I was looking for. Naturally, that got me into like spaces where I saw innovation happening, like MIT Reality Hack, one of the best hackathons I've ever attended. Took a decision of pursuing my education here, going to NYU, did a 2 years master's program, and I think I had the best time playing with motion capture, volumetric capture, all kinds of fun emerging technologies there for almost 2 years. I was working with this professor called Todd J. Bryant, who basically loved creating a virtual amusement park in the space called our lab. So he's just done all kinds of dreamlike experiences, whether it's animatronics, be it virtual production, creating motion capture, and then it's a very collaborative environment as such. I do encourage you all to go there sometime and check it out. Post my graduation, I got a job at Zero Density. It's an official partner of Unreal Engine, Epic Games. And what we do is essentially help our clients like broadcasters and let's say people who are not Unreal Engine friendly leverage virtual production. So let's say broadcasters who are working in traditional workflows for decades, if we ask them to now, okay, now start building games and learn what blueprinting is, it's going to drive them nuts. But that doesn't mean they cannot leverage the real-time technology of Unreal Engine, right? So what we do is we basically create a software on top of Unreal Engine, which allows them to learn and leverage Unreal Engine quickly, and then do all kinds of graphics operation stuff and build pipelines which are virtual production friendly. So I'll delve into that in a bit. But here are some NYU projects I was working on. I remember that Stewart platform. It was really fun to get into that and create some virtual reality experiences. So I currently work at Zero Density as a technical account manager. And some of my fondest projects are the weather news that we worked on, where we made the weather go from television screens. I always found it funny. Like you have these news presenters, you're watching TV, and these presenters are showing you weather on a TV. So now you have this ample of spatial space that you can leverage, show your clouds, show your maps, show all the stuff on the floor and in a spatial arrangement. Also worked on Met Gala, where because these celebrities have limited time with themselves, and obviously we want to talk about how they dress up and stuff. So what we did is we took cutouts and presented those cutouts as AR elements, and then we spoke for it for like good 30 minutes. So stuff like that. US elections, of course, in 2024, we did everything possible during that time. Call it set extension, AR, you have your hybrid studio workflows, LED walls, green screen, you mentioned it. And then NFL Newsroom, where we actually created, so CBS Sports decided to do a throwback for the first time when NFL was presented through CBS. So they literally recreated those sets and made it look like a old school kind of production, which went really well. So what are we diving into today? We are discussing, I'm going to give you, I just don't know the audience, how diverse it is, but then how Unreal friendly are you guys? And how virtual production friendly are you guys? Like how deep can you get in the concepts? Because my understanding is virtual production solutions may differ in terms of where to click, what to do, what are the softwares that you use, but the high level understanding will always remain the same. And people struggle with that the most because I think my boss told me like it's like a muscle. It takes time. So for 6 months of my job, they didn't even expect me to perform. Although I think I did my first install in 3 months. But the point that I'm trying to make is it's important to know what kind of decisions to make while selecting a configuration of like, let's say like there are different products, because you're not using one product and doing everything with that. You're getting like the best of tracking, you're getting the best of let's say a media server or whatever it is. But the point that I'm trying to make is good consulting and bad consulting is a big deal in our industry, because I feel our industry is having slow progress because of bad consulting. Let's say you're a producer, you invest $1 million into something that we tell you, hey, buy this. And then you realize this is a piece of shit or it's mediocre enough. I don't enjoy it. Now, this same person or the same team is going to resist for 5 years until they are bold enough to try it again. So I feel like it's always about concepts for me. It's not about, I mean, I like to tell my clients and my audience why we are choosing what and not just do something because it's on paper. So we'll be diving into virtual production workflows, understanding what goes into building these pipelines. Why would you choose different pipelines for achieving different results? Then we'll be talking about zero density technology, which in my personal opinion, eases out a lot of these Unreal Engine workflows, which otherwise, if you have to do it in Unreal Engine, I think it's still a pain to achieve the same results, because I feel Unreal Engine is great at what it does, but there's a philosophy in software. If something is like, if a software is really good at doing something, it's also complicated enough to, like, like if it's doing 100 things, doing those 100 things is not going to be the easy road. Like it's like you'll have, because you'll have 100 of options and buttons, right? So where do you click? What do you do? The reason why the learning curve of Unreal Engine becomes very, let's say, steep. And more importantly, if I have to get somebody, let's say, virtual production ready, expecting to first learn Unreal Engine and then do virtual production, waiting for that 8 months timeline doesn't seem realistic. Versus you get started and then you keep, obviously, Unreal Engine, you're not getting rid of Unreal Engine. You have to keep doing it and you keep getting better at it because it's still under the hood. You still build your virtual sets. But building the pipeline, I feel doing that externally somewhere is an easier process, and you can do that on an enterprise level. So that's that. Then we'll be also talking about best practices and performance optimization for the same reason where bad consulting happens. So I'll be talking about what not to do and what to do. And I'll also be showing you some real world operations and case studies and some fun ideas of where I think virtual production will be going in terms of possibilities. So we'll discuss those ideas later. Cool. So 4 ways to achieve virtual production. First, LED wall, the most exciting or heard about way, thanks to Mandalorian. It does put a hole in the bank or your pocket, but it is exciting to work with LED walls. I enjoy those workflows. If I have to give you some context, it takes $2,000 per meter for you to build an LED wall, and I'm just talking about the panels. Then comes the other economics where you have, let's say, the processing, you have your the tracking technology and every other infrastructure that would basically get you ready. You're talking about 500K, close to 500K for a small studio versus $1 million up for an enterprise level solution with LED walls. But the trade-off, and the reason why people love LED walls, most likely the film studios, is because you can change lighting on the fly. If you're doing a sunset scene where you're probably changing sunset to night, you can easily do that because you get those interactive practical lights falling off the talent, and you don't have to deal with like things like keying and then figuring out whether it's really looking good or not. What you see is what you get. It's almost final composite or a final shot in your camera. So the reason why people still choose LED walls, and it's great, I love it. I want to talk about today's conversation is focused about virtual productions at different scales because I want to break the myth that virtual production is super expensive, which LED walls basically gives you that impression. But if you get into other workflows, you can also build a very decent setup at home, which I have recently built with like the basic stuff, but it gets you going. And you can scale it up as and when you get more funding, or let's say you have more clients, you're making more monies. So let's talk about green screen now. So the perks of using a green screen is basically, if you're doing any kind of production that requires stable lighting, if your lighting does not get affected drastically, like let's say you decide on this is my best lighting, and now I just want to like make people go from Antarctica to somewhere in space and all kinds of stuff. Green screen is essentially probably the right way to go because it's economical. You don't have to worry about breaking an LED panel because of probably some kind of artistic fire-related stunt that you're doing. And you also can expect almost everything that LED wall does, and even beyond, because of the great hair details, shadows, and translucency factors that green screen technologies can provide with their real-time keying and other abilities. That we'll again check that out in the process. Then comes XR. XR is basically a hybrid solution where you are making a mix-up of all kinds of tech. You're doing a little bit of AR, you probably are doing, it's basically called set extension, where you're using a physical set and blending it with a virtual environment, let's say, through green screens, LED walls, however you choose it. So here you get the flexibility to decide, probably I just want to use like a few panels of LED walls, and then I want to go green screen on the other side. So those kind of things can be done with the pipeline that you build, which is XR. And then augmented reality comes as a feature and also a workflow. If you're, let's say, this is a physical space, and all you need is some kind of virtual object that spawns in front of you, like Pokemon Go, that's augmented reality for you. You can also use it as a feature in a virtual space where you are already in a virtual environment and you're still spawning objects. It's still augmented reality. All right. So these are different workflows that we'll be delving into. Again, coming to the higher level concept, what is virtual production? This is how I've decoded it. Basically, you are mimicking the physical space as closely as possible in the virtual space. And the way you do it is by referencing. You're referencing almost everything that you can in terms of giving details of the physical space to the virtual world so that it can do its job well, the software or whatever that you call it. So let's talk about some of those elements in terms of what are the things that you reference. I think I want to come back to this again, but at the same time, I'll just mention it quickly. There's something called a 0 point, wherein you have one point in space where you decide the coordinates to be X, Y, Z, because if you're getting any kind of tracking data, any kind of numbers, you can only make sense of those numbers if you have some reference point which is zeroed out, right? And then we do use that 0 point for a lot of other use cases. I won't get too much into details again. Like the idea is to give you the high level perspective, because otherwise you could easily spend like a week here. All right, so then physical space mapping. This is basically giving the dimensions of your stage on to the software so that it understands how big your stage is, whether it's LED walls or whether it's your green screen cyclorama. So what you're doing is you're measuring for different purposes. You're measuring like different stuff, which will again get through it in the slide forward. Then camera pivot alignment. You're basically also mimicking the camera movements of a real camera in the virtual space. So how does that work? You essentially have a physical camera, and if the physical camera has to pan right 30 degrees, you'll also have the virtual camera pan equivalently right at 30 degrees. The way you would achieve that is by matching the pivot point of the physical camera, which is your center of the lens, to the virtual camera. So we'll again come to it at some point when we discuss tracking. So you have like offsets that are taken, which basically give you a location, and then that location is offsetted till you get the offset, the pivot of the center of the lens. And then the last thing is clean plate, which is essentially used for green screen virtual production, where you have an image which is used as a reference image for keying. There are two types of keyers. You have chroma keyers, you have pixel-based keying. Chroma keying is basically selecting a color, and then it'll key out the greens in that range of that color area. Versus pixel-based keying is using a pixel in that space. And this, by the way, this clean plate is tracked. So let's say I have an image, and that image is aligned on top of the cyclorama at all times. So no matter what, like how you move the camera, the image sticks onto the cyclorama. You'll again see that in the forward slides. So every pixel to pixel, it compares the green, and then it keys it out. So that way, if you have, let's say, not balanced lighting, it can still key out the green. If you're standing in whatever color, it'll key you out if you go out, like, if you're in the image, and then you, let's say, move out. So the idea is to basically use pixels to key up, to do the keying. All right. So I just spoke about a bit of how the keying works, but this is how it looks. What you see on the left for green screen cyclorama, the image, it's basically called a wireframe. You are seeing that is aligned on top of the physical set, no matter how you move the camera, right? And let's talk about how this calibration works. You're essentially creating a wireframe, whether it's green screen cyclorama or LED wall, you're creating a wireframe which is basically aligning on either the LED wall or the green screen cyclorama. And then this wireframe is essentially used to get the greens out and use that as a canvas to put your virtual set in, if that makes sense. Is this clear or confusing? And we also have something called as inner and outer frustrums in LED wall. I feel like you guys have, this is again popular, so you may have heard of this, but just to give like a quick breakdown of that. Inner frustrum is basically what the camera sees, and it's again being tracked. So wherever your camera goes, it'll ensure that part of the frame, which is basically what the camera would see, is rendered at full pixel. Versus your outer frustrum, just to be sustainable and ensure that you're basically optimizing your performance. You are rendering it at low resolution just to get the light effect, but you anyway don't see that in the camera, so it doesn't matter, right? So that's how we do it. All right, let's talk about camera tracking. There are 4 types of camera tracking: inside out, outside in, optical tracking, and PDZ, which is internal camera. So inside out is basically, there's always an intelligent system like a camera in somewhere in all of these 4 trackings. So for inside out, you have an intelligent camera looking at dummy trackers on the top. We call them constellation. So it uses these. So when you calibrate it and once it's done, it uses these dummy trackers, which are basically stars, like circle kind of objects. And the distance between each dummy tracker, it's calculated enough to understand the camera's reference. So whenever your camera moves a certain way, it also has an inbuilt gyro and stuff like that. So it can give you XYZ coordinates, it can give you PTZ movements and all of those things in accurate, like literally like precision. So that's basically one way to do tracking. Second way is outside in, which I essentially call motion capture technology because it's the same. You have cameras on like if you use OptiTrack or Vicon, you realize these cameras are being set up on the ceiling, on the grids, and they are overlooking portions of the studio, but then each camera is communicating with each other. So if you see the whole system, it can see the entire studio at all times. And probably 3 cameras can see like one part of the space. So these cameras can see, and then your dummy your tracker is basically dummy, which is on the camera, which is a rigid body, which these cameras can see and then can identify the location and can give you real-time coordinates. Then we have optical tracking. This is interesting. A lot of sports related work uses optical tracking, where it will use LiDAR scanning and it'll use cues in terms of whatever that it sees in front of it as physical elements. So let's say if I see this small like silver box here, I'll use this as a cue, and then I'll remember where it is, and then I'll remember my position and then keep tracking it. So that way it will basically make us get a rough idea about the space, and then use these objects in space and then do tracking. All right. And then the last one is PTZ. We all know how that works. Then let's get into talent tracking. There are multiple ways to do talent tracking, but I'm going to be specific to this one, which is skeletal. Like it detects a human body, and then it just gives you the location coordinates by detecting the feet in terms of where it moves. So I feel this is a very elegant way, because then you don't have to use anything like a hardware, which has to become a pain in a way, because they have to figure out how to put it and then whether it's seen or not, because it has to be seen in some way if you're trying to do it the rigid body way. All right, lens calibration. One of my favorite things, which took me a lot of time and pain, and it's still painful to do it, to understand the concepts, like the concept of it. So what is lens calibration? Any questions? I mean, any thoughts? I'm going to make it really simple. So because we talk about like virtual production being a thing where you're blending the physical space with virtual, this is the way where you're blending the two to figure out some imperfections of the physical world. So Unreal Engine world, virtual space world, it's all perfect. There are no distortions. Everything is like the way it's supposed to be, because we are not comparing with the real world, where there are different factors that can cause distortions and stuff like that, right? Our real world is imperfect in some ways. If I have to get more specific, let's talk about lens. Let me ask you a question. Whenever there are 2 different lenses of the same make and model, okay? Same lens, like basically 2 different lenses of the same model, is it exactly the same? I mean, is it supposed to be different? Why?
Because of the f-stop and the focal point and all that different things. So the settings will give you totally different.
Correct. But let's talk about what the lens is made of and why would that be an important thing. It's glass, and it's curved glass. So if you've like in physics, we've learned, right? The light reflecting based on this is word that I forgot, I can't recollect it right now. But the point I'm trying to make is there are these distortions on different points of the lens that need to be rectified in order to ensure that it's doing well in the virtual space, because virtual space is perfect. So we have to understand what the imperfections are in the physical space. So how do we do it? I'm going to simplify it with this concept real quick. There are multiple ways you do lens calibration. People use AI nowadays, but this is the basics of it. That cone that you see, that cone is basically a virtual cone that I'm spawning at 0, 0, 0 of my virtual set. Okay. Then imagine that circle to be a frame of a camera. Okay. And I'm positioning the frame as such where wherever that 0 point, which I've marked in the physical space, I've aligned my camera in such a way that that 0 point is in the center of the frame. And that cone is spawned as an AR object at 0, 0, 0. So it basically comes on that 0 point. Okay. So that center part of the frame, it will, this cone has to always align on 0 point. But the moment you pan your camera slightly towards the right, wherein if you see the K1 value, let's get that 0 point there. Now you'll realize that the cone has drifted slightly. So what you're doing is at different level of zoom and focus, you're rectifying this K1 and K2 value. And then it builds this graph of distortion fade. All right. And we are just talking about K1, K2, but then there's more to this. There's center shift X, center shift Y, because we are just talking about this part of the lens, but then there's also depth, right? So this is just the basics of it, but just want to like make it more clearer in terms of what lens calibration comprises of. Cool. We all know video IO stuff. And I think just like for the sake of time, I'm going to rush a little. We know these things. Let's get into zero density. Why zero density? Can you relate to this? So every time you clean the house and then you never realize how the mess comes out again, right? I mean, then you have to clean again. It's like a repetitive cycle almost every 2 or 3 days for me at least. So what if I tell you, once you build your perfect virtual set, that virtual set, which is perfect, stays the same way, no matter what changes you have to make during production. That's where zero density and our solutions come into picture. So what we do is we use Reality Hub, which is basically installed on you install it on a laptop, desktop, virtual machine, doesn't matter. It's just a web-based application. So you use a Google Chrome to basically access it. And it can control multiple Unreal engines or multiple engines, which are basically hardware, which has Unreal Engine installed, each of them. And the way you have like separate engines because it's one camera per engine. So let's say this is like a 4-camera setup right there. Or if you're doing AR and different workflows, then each workflow is an engine. So it can be that way as well. So what's happening here is you're controlling all these engines. You can also have 16 engines. During the US elections, we literally had 16 engines operated through a single hub. And what you're doing is you're using a node graph pipeline, which is something like these graphs that you see that we're creating. And you're modifying stuff on these graphs. And then the mess that you've made is linked to the graph, not your project. All right. So your project does not grow in size. So let's say there's an election stuff where you're using images of Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. If you just need it for 2 weeks, don't put it in the project. Put it outside, upload it, use it through our software, get done with it, and then the project size doesn't even increase. You don't have to delete it, remember deleting it at some point. All right. Cool. Then you can also, like any actor is basically every component that you use to build a virtual set. Any actor is shown in our node graph, one of the node called UV5 node, which is essentially the project, where you can click on, you'll get a list of all these actors on the left. And the moment you click on any of the actor, you'll see all their properties that are exposed on the bottom right. You select the property and then you decide what you want to do with it. You can create an input pin, output pin. You can put it in an action timeline and then create some kind of animations and make it into a button, stuff like that. So what you see here is basically me spawning a cube. Now this cube does not exist in the project. I've just spawned it because it's a template cube. And then I'm moving it from point A to point B. This animation I created on my software itself, which is the hub. I create a button out of it, and then I'm triggering it from my playout module, which is basically broadcast friendly, like a interface where people so the graphics operators, they don't care about your node graphs. They don't care about your virtual set, Unreal Engine, stuff like that. They just care about, oh, okay, this is my show for 20 minutes. There are 20 buttons I have to click at these many intervals or times or whatever, and I'm going to do it one by one. So you can just do that and make it accessible this way. Yeah. So even when it's our hub, which is like, there are multiple modules to it, there are different kinds of people who just care about a particular module. Like graphics operator doesn't care about the node graph module. And a node graph operator, the guy who's building a node graph probably doesn't care about what kind of sets are built, things like that. Cool. So this is how you calibrate cycloramas. You have, you select on the cyclorama node, you put in the dimensions, and you will see that wireframe. If your tracking is in place, you'll see that wireframe which we saw earlier, the yellow color thing. It aligns on the physical cyclorama, literally in the moment you put those dimensions in. Same thing with LED walls. You have different things for LED walls. You have to decide how big each panel is, and then how many columns, how many rows, and then there's 0 points. You have to measure the displacement from the 0 point until the left and the right bottom part of the LED wall, and that's how you get your wireframe for the LED wall, whether it's flat, curved, on the ceiling, whatever it is in place. Okay. All right, I'm gonna play this video real quick, and then I'm gonna really fly like a rocket.
For years, our reality platform has led the way in virtual studio production. It is relied upon by broadcasters like the Weather Channel, Warner Bros. Discovery, and Univision every day to deliver stunning virtual studio productions. This NAB show, we're zooming into what powers that realism, how our keying, rendering, and compositing pipeline sets us apart. Let's start with a key differentiator, our approach to keying. Unlike traditional chroma keyers, our keyer is image-based and tracking aware. We have the 3D mesh of our cyclorama and real-time camera tracking. We generate a synthetic clean plate each frame. This feeds our algorithm the original color behind each pixel.
Visuals are more
traditional keyers
important.
pick one green tone and add tolerance around it. Our keyer picks 2 million tones of green in 4K UHD and requires no clamping, no thresholds. It preserves every translucent and soft detail. For instance, this bottle of water. Without any compromise. Because we work with real clean plate data, we can deal with unevenly lit cycloramas without sacrificing quality. You can see some green color variations here, even some physical soft shadows on the cyclorama. After matte extraction, we project your key video onto the 3D scene at the correct depth. Now your talent lives inside Unreal's world, casting shadows, generating reflections and refractions, all ray traced real time. This is unconventional compared to traditional chroma keyers. They are usually overlaid at the end, after 3D rendering, losing all that context and realism we achieve by projecting our video into the 3D world. But what if there were AR graphics in the foreground? Like this weather panel. It has translucent glass, but we don't do a second render.
So
instead,
you need talent tracking to be able to
pixels, using video pixels depth
front or like
any pixel that goes in front of the video is black
AR
solid,
objects
and gray for
position,
translucent
because
pixels.
otherwise you'll always be behind.
All of this
in
happens
AR.
in a single render pass.
Because
foreground
the system
elements
doesn't know
reflect
the
and
times
refract
locate,
live
right?
video with no performance hit. This is crucial for achieving real-time performance to broadcast a photoreal ray-traced virtual studio
All
in
right,
Ultra
so
HD
that's
at 60
that.
FPS.
I mean, you just now
During the final composite, we use our
talking
foreground
about the stuff. Cool. Let's go forward. These are some of the creative workflows. Teleportation, where you could just be in any other part of the world, and I can bring you in the set. Then hybrid studio, where you can have a talent walk from a virtual studio into a physical space in one go, if like your physical space, like a hard set is next to the LED wall, next to the green screen. And then you have fly cam, where you can have a virtual, so you have track talent where the talent's position is consistent in the virtual space, and then you can fly your virtual cam anywhere and then bring it in space. So that's something cool. And then you have portal window, where you're essentially bringing, like, let's say you have a LED panel or a window kind of a thing, like a TV, and then you're bringing a car, some like the illusion kind of stuff that you see with Japan, like these Japanese billboards, like how you see, like it gives an effect that it's coming out of the billboard, that same thing. But this one is literally coming out, although it's an AR object. Cool. So some stuff with lighting, camera, work. So you'll realize with broadcasters or any kind of like corporations which have high security and tied up network security as such, you will realize we have to deal a lot with them to ask them to like take off all the firewall, antivirus, because you are dealing with 3D stuff here. You can't be expecting different traffic on the same network where tracking is being communicated real time, because that's going to cause jitters or some kind of delays, all of those things, right? So one of the most important things that we deal from time to time is network. You need, the ideal way to do it is take everything offline, use an unmanaged switch, and then don't give access to internet. We don't need internet. Just do it offline. Camera, there are different things for different settings, but again, for the sake of time, I'm just going to stick to green screen technology, where because you are trying to mimic the physical space, like you're trying to mimic the physical space in the virtual world as best as possible, and the virtual space is perfect, right? So you want to ensure that the distortions or the imperfections of the physical world are also less. So what happens is with every camera, it comes with a noise, whether it's from the lens or the make and model of the camera. So, and then these noise gets exaggerated with the settings of the camera. So any kind of post-process setting, whether it's sharpening or any color profiles, your gain, stuff like that, you just want to disable it. If you want to put those post-process, do it towards the end through a system like Zero Density or even in Unreal. All right. So make the camera feed as neutral and as clean as possible. Then with lighting, don't use one lighting and cheap out on lighting where you have the lighting, which is lighting up the cyclorama as well as the talent. And then you're just making a mess out of things because as you move, like those greens, remember the pixel to pixel thing I told you about, the greens are changing. So you have three different kinds of light. You have cyc lights, which are just taking care of cyclorama, even lighting. Then you have talent lights, and you have your side lights, which is just to like give you like better fill and stuff. All right. We like to put tungsten, a little bit of magenta in the light just to kill the spill if you have huge cycloramas. There are some of our clients who have like cycloramas which are 4 to 5 times bigger than this space. And if you go literally towards the end of it, you will be like this small. And then it's all green across the body. So that's when we use magenta. Cool. One of the things that I have a huge problem with again is using any hardware for any Unreal version and then having an expectation that things will just work fine. It's like you use some kind of texture which has or some kind of 3D object which has 1,000 polygons and then expecting it to work really well versus all you need is 150 for that GPU. So you have to be really smart enough to understand what space of the virtual set you're gonna leverage, and then develop your set in a way where you're not giving unnecessary, if there's a fountain which is like 500 meters behind, which is not even visible in the set or in the frame that I have for my virtual production. Why is it running? And why is it? Because it's still doing processing. So it's important to understand these kind of things. And this is just the trend of the tech where with every, let's say when we came up with 4.7 of Unreal, we had our model called Ampere, which had a A6000 graphics card. There are some clients who are using the same hardware and are wanting to run 5.7 in there. It will run, but then don't expect to do everything in there. And then probably after 5, if Unreal 6 has to come, probably it's not the best thing. It's time to change your hardware, it's your iPhone. iPhone 13 works fine, but who's using iPhone 6 right now? You can't. It's gonna really be slow with all the apps that are updated and have better versions of it, right? Cool. So how do you build a virtual production pipeline with a limited budget? PDC, create a green screen. Don't use a vinyl. You want a hard green screen, kind of like a wooden, use wooden panel or just paint the floor, paint the wall, and then have some kind of hard surface on which you can then extend, and then probably you can use POP or something like that, which can create a curvature also, and then just paint it all evenly. You can use our Open Studio license program, which basically gives you free licenses. If you're a corporation that's earning less than $1 million. So, and then basically you can get this set up ready in 15K. And then future of VP. I feel we are only scratching the surface. This is the last slide, by the way, so just hang on for 2 more minutes. We are, as much as we're doing live link for motion capture and other things, I feel it's still not being used into, you don't see that in news. You don't see that in the stuff that is done in terms of production, right? That's getting out there, because it's one thing to spawn a globe, but it would be really nice to kick it or spin it, things like that. And I think the tech is doing everything in bits and pieces, but you can't do everything at once. So we still have time for it, but at some point I feel interactions will be a big deal. We'll be merging spatial reality and those kind of devices with our virtual production workflows, and it'll all be like a chaotic, beautiful mess, but fun to play with and exciting space to be in, kind of feeling. Cool. I also feel green screen technology will be leveraged more with AI, because the moment AI can figure out how to give you those practical light kind of effect on talent, let's say you a virtual scene is having some kind of a moonlight effect, and your light is still yellow, but then it can create that moonlight effect on the talent in the final composite. Then trust me, there's no difference between an ID wall and green screen. But at the same time, I feel I'm very hopeful that we'll have hybrid workflows. We'll be using green screen and LED walls simultaneously to suit our purposes. So that's all, guys. Thank you. We'll stop chat.
Yeah, and then we'll switch over here. Thanks, Ajinkya. There we go. We're moving over to the computer here. Whoops, sorry. Oh, yeah, you can sign out.
And no.
Yeah, it's fine. Great. Take a second to stretch your legs. We got Andrew Delgado coming up next. Yeah, you know what? Thanks going. This video going. And we've got. Yes, exactly. We're gonna optimize for, yeah, we'll go share. And the content, share sounds, optimize the video. That's good. Great. Oh, there you go. Yeah, sorry. What am I doing? Is it Chrome or Firefox? There we go. All right, we're going to keep things moving right along. Very excited to have Andrew here. I've been a huge fan of ICRAVE for many years. They are here in New York City. He'll tell you more about them, but they're now a part of Journey, which also is a larger conglomerate doing tons of incredible work. Give it up for Andrew Delgado. Take it off.
Thank you, everybody. Should we do some ASMR for the other guys over there? So yeah, my name is Andrew. I work for Journey / ICRAVE. I don't know if there's any architects or visualization people here in the audience. Yes, no, nobody's here. Just a couple. 1, 2. Great, perfect. So pretty much everybody else is way smarter than me in this room. So apologies. So yeah, I'm Andrew. I'm the technical director of visualization at iCrave. I've been working there for 8+ years. I've been in the visualization game for 15 years now, which is unfortunate. Time is flying. But yeah, I started my journey in architecture, also NYU, AJ, 2010, a little bit a while ago. But yeah, did architecture for undergrad, and then did a little stint at NYU for digital imaging and design. And so that's where I kind of combined the two worlds together for virtual production and just like animation, architecture, all that fun stuff. But today, kind of wanted to talk to you guys and share kind of like a story, trials and tribulations of me trying to go and take my pipeline from a traditional pipeline using 3ds Studio Max and Corona. Was originally using V-Ray, way back in the day. And then, even before that, I was using Maya. But, for ArcViz, pretty much, 3ds Max and Corona is, bread and butter. But for years and years, I've dabbled with ArcViz and Unreal, probably since 4.08. This is like going back to like 2015. Dabbled here and there, as things kind of grow and evolve. I've constantly seen Unreal kind of change and kind of adapt. It's always kind of had ArcViz in its sights and to a certain degree, but really when 5 came out was like the aha moment to me, especially when Lumen came out, to no longer have to bake your lighting, have to worry about optimizing your scenes as much with Nanite. It was almost like a gold mine for somebody like me as like just like an artist basically. So I don't have like I don't know like C++, I don't know coding, I don't know really like how to get in depth to some blueprints besides like just fumbling around basically. But today I kind of want to really talk to you about this hospitality project that we worked on last year. Pretty much kind of highlighting a time period between last May, or I guess 2 Mays ago now, and in June. So it was about a month time period that I worked on this project. I thought it was like the perfect project to really kind of like upskill not just myself, but my team, and then try to really push the boundaries as to what we can do for changing our pipeline over from sitting there and waiting for a rendering to complete for hours and hours, and instead just get some instant results for inside of Unreal Engine. So the goal of this project was, of course, always to make like a better waiting room, better transition for people. We're always thinking about it in a holistic manner, from the experience of not just the patients, but the staff as well. So we were commissioned to do 6+ renderings. I'm saying 6+ because, of course, there's always an add-on, and add-on, and add-on, and one more thing, and one more thing. So in the architecture world, we do kind of like project phases. So we'll do like full project scopes will comprise of something like concept design to what's called schematic design, so SD, and then design development. So that's usually kind of where I slot in, and my team kind of slots in, usually in the SD to DD range. There's also, the further down the pipeline is construction documents or CDs. Those are very, very rare that my team ever kind of comes back and has to like re-alter or re-edit, design work. So some tech specs, I'm always curious about like what are other people working with, how are people like using these tools, especially with Unreal. These, as you can see, it's pretty long in the tooth as far as like what kind of computing power that my team is currently using. So we're using Intel processors, 12900 KF, which is, 2-3 generations at this point in time. NVIDIA 3080 Ti, 64 gigs of RAM. For this project, it was fresh off of 5.6, just came out, I believe. No source control because, again, I'm an artist. I don't know how to do this shit. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know. You guys are gonna hate me by the end. You guys are gonna hate me. I don't name my shit. I throw lights everywhere. You guys are gonna be screaming and kicking at the end of this. You guys are gonna be like, why? Why is this guy Alex? Why is this guy presenting in front of us? How dare you? So a little bit about the project process for my team. Like, we'll ingest anything from BIM data to architectural drawing files to mood boards, strategy design work, anything like this kind of stuff we'll get. And then part of the project process, like if this freaks you out, don't worry, this is like day to day for me, is just getting markups from the designers, working with them. They'll give me markups between like from furniture plans to specs of tiles and fabrics, different lamps, lighting fixtures, you name it. I'll get all the information. So like the seats here that you're sitting on, somebody spec that. The carpet, somebody spec that, and somebody probably put this into some sort of visualization at one point or another. And then sometimes I'll get just some basic renderings from the design team. This was created by a designer, UA in my team in Enscape. So a lot of times they'll use Rhino or Revit if they're already kind of like in pre-concept or just like kind of preliminary, just design studies before it really hits my team. It'll kind of come to me this way, and then it just kind of gives me a little, boost into like what's kind of going on in their heads. So just an initial rendering straight up from 3ds Max, a couple days. They give me all that information, and then I'm throwing it into Unreal because I'm like, okay, this is the perfect project. It's got a great timeline. It's got a good size, good scope. I can do this. Andrew, you can do this. We can finally transform our pipeline. And I'm like, no problem. So after a day or so, just kind of cleaning up, this is kind of like a first pass. Not too bad. After another couple of days, just kind of working through it with the design team, really getting into the finessing of the lighting, some materiality, getting more into like some of the actual spec work of the furniture. A little bit better, I guess. Not too bad. But you can see like there's still like I don't know if the mouse here, yeah, there's still like a couple errors here. There's still like problems with the scene. So like more to come on that. And then again, just like another progress, a lot cleaner, a little bit sharper, a little bit nicer, finally able to kind of get into some like the meat and potatoes of like the materials and the actual lighting. Um, and so now this is the final real-time rendering from Unreal. So this is using the path tracer to output. It only takes like maybe like 3 to 5 minutes to output it from there, opposed to doing like maybe 45 minutes from 3ds Max and Corona. It was like night and day. I was like, thank God, this is awesome. Now like the kind of like the where the story kind of goes to a turn, my team is really in-depth part of the design team. So we have to work quickly. We have to just go. Like we're not just like a visualization house that you export out and then you're just doing marketing renderings for a couple weeks and then you're done. We're constantly iterating, we're constantly changing, we're constantly just, going and going and going. So at this point, like this is about 3 weeks into the project, and I'm getting heat from my designers, I'm getting heat from my managers, and they're like, "This is taking too long. This is just taking too long, bro." And I'm like, "I get it, I get it. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to like do things and dip and dabble." But I'm like, "Trust me, bro. Trust me, bro." And eventually, they were like, "No, no, no. We gotta hit this. We gotta hit this." So this is the same exact day. I was able to take you know the scene that I was currently working on in Unreal because it was already built inside of 3ds Max. And all of this was getting output through Datasmith. So Datasmith has been kind of like the holy grail for me. Super easy as far as like exporting out for, again, geometries, materials. I don't really mess with the lighting. I do all the lighting manually inside of Unreal. But yeah, this was like the same day turnaround, just kind of getting back into 3ds Max because they just felt more comfortable. You could see like the plants look a little bit nicer just because I have a built up library over like 10 plus years of just doing this. It's just like a muscle memory of just like being able to like kind of go back and forth and just doing this kind of stuff. But so there was like a huge learning curve for all this stuff. And it's like, sometimes it's important to know your limits on when to just stop and just like, okay, this was a successful run, but I can't continue on going, this way. So let's take a look at some of the discoveries I made while trying to take on real time. So hopefully this will kind of equip you into the battle, going from changing your pipeline and help you not make the same mistakes that I did. So again, let's just kind of go back to the final rendering basically for this scene. This is basically the 3ds Max scene. Nothing too crazy. Architecture and furniture are all hand modeled. Or at least most of the furniture, I should say. Most of the spec furniture that I get from the designers, I'll either purchase that from somebody else or from the manufacturer, 3D Sky. I2 is a plugin, a pretty popular plugin for creating like repetitive objects or even for like planting, stuff like that. Think of it as almost like a PCG. So I really wish I learned PCG beforehand because that would have made this way, way easier. So like, again, that's just like learning your limits. Like if I had like an extra week or so to like really get into the nitty gritty at this point, PCG is still like, I don't even think it was in beta at that point. I think it was experimental or some sort, or it might have been like, yeah, like alpha or something. So it wasn't ready. I didn't feel like it was ready at that point. So yeah, I never quite learned it. Materials, super simple materials. I try to keep everything as simple as possible with my process. Try to keep it as close to PBR type materials as possible. The highlighted material on the top right there, Corona Legacy is not a true PBR type material. But you can see like this is just kind of like a lay of land of some of the materials that I have like inside of here, like a lot of woods, a lot of like stone work, all that fun stuff. So one of the the key things that I want to warn you guys as like a tool to make sure that you guys know about is like anything that you try to export out via Datasmith, you have to be aware of like what is transferable and what's not transferable. So like traditional like Corona bitmap and Corona color, they've been around for ages. Those are totally transferable. Anything that's plugged into them will get piped out through Datasmith inside of Unreal Engine. Some of like the newer ones or some of the ones that have been around for a couple of years, like the Corona triplanar, multi-maps or Corona selects or mixes. I love me some randomizer because it just kind of helps you like really put like a whole wall like this and just like randomize your materials. So this way they all look like they're tiling. Great. Works great for Max and Corona. Doesn't work at all for Unreal and Datasmith. So always just be aware of kind of like keeping your materials as simple as possible, because then once you get them into Max or into Unreal rather, you could always do randomization from there and make them a little bit better. As far as geometry issues goes, remember this image. We'll take a look at, some issues like this caused me headache. Like at first it's just like, oh, it's just like a normal issue, or oh, like there's just like just like a janky part of like the geometry itself. So rail clone, it's like a parametric tool. So when you're creating geometry, it's basically duplicating geometry off of just like a couple instances that you dedicate into the tool itself. But one of the things I want to point out for this, in this case, if you are using a rail clone tool, you need to transfer the viewport from quick mesh to mesh. So basically what's happening is like the quick mesh looks great inside of the viewport itself. It'll look exactly the way you want it to, but it's just a representation of it. It's not an actual mesh until you actually click on it on the viewport to click up and make it a mesh. Now this is a performance hit because it does actually create a true mesh inside of your viewport. And then just throw an edit poly or edit mesh on top of it, and then you're good to go. Took me a couple tries to really figure that one out. So I'm hoping that'll save you guys a little bit of headaches down the road, just in case you ever do decide to use those tools. So let's kind of jump inside of Unreal right now and kind of show you a couple of things that will make you scream. I'm sorry. Again, just artist. I'm just an artist. Don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. So one of the things that I learned really early on in like the 4.25, 4.26 era is like once I really started trying to hit the stride of like, let's make this into like an actual tool that's useful for ArcViz, was like, don't treat Unreal as like the same way you would with ArcViz, making every single light a real light. You want to kind of extrapolate and just kind of like make things look as good as possible, right? You want to optimize because this is a game engine. So this was, again, before Mega Lights really kind of came into play. But I was just like, screw that, I'm just gonna make this as crazy as possible. Because again, this is 5.6. It could do everything I want it to do at this point in time. So why not? So you can see here, you could, pretty much every light in the ceiling there is represented with at least one light, give or take here, here and there. And just wanted to kind of reiterate something that you guys probably already know. But you have free FPS, not first-person shooters, but frames per second, just by turning on Mega Lights. So if you have a post-process volume inside of your scene, you can go and find the Mega Lights section over there. So you'll see on the top left there, I was getting about 30 frames per second. Not bad for a crazy scene with like tons of non-optimized materials, not optimized meshes at all. Again, this is just coming from a ArcViz artist who has there was probably like 50 million polygons in the scene. And then it just, with a click of a button, it jumped up to 98 frames per second. And I'm like, Andrew, why do you care about your frames per second. You're just outputting an image. Well, you're still working in the scene. You still want to be as fast as possible. And yes, you can go and change your scalability options and kind of drop that down. But for me, like one of the grand tools of Unreal is just being able to see everything that you're going to get. And so I try to keep everything at least on like high or cinematic level, not so much epic, because that will make my really aging GPU cry. But Megalights has been a fantastic add-on. I don't know how they do it. I don't know what happened or how they fixed something or whatever, but there's like no like change in like the scene itself as far as that I've been able to tell. I've toggled it on and off. I've gone into dark areas. I've gone into light areas. I've tried to prove somebody wrong somewheres, but somebody had like an amazing idea, and they it was just like a huge boon for ArcViz for having mega lights. Lighting setup, two main light sources in the scene, primarily. It's just like regular point lights and material lights. The material lights, again, super simple. Just creating a color and giving it an intensity with a parameter. Really, really nice to have that ability to change your values on the fly, and be able to get an instant result. Again, that's something that you would have to wait for inside of 3ds Max and Corona. You can kind of circumvent that a little bit with the light mix in Corona now, and but you have to kind of do that and pre-plan that. So as for like regular lights, I love adding lights to Cove lighting inside of Unreal. Using the source length, you can just take like a regular point light and just be able to manipulate the actual source length itself and kind of give you like a bit of like a Cove light feel to what you're trying to do. And then of course, changing the temperature and making it adapt and fit to to your scene. Of course, anything like that we're trying to do as far as like curved geometries or curved surfaces where we're trying to light, I tried to just stick with a material light, just because it's just way easier than trying to fit like 50 of these and then just trying to like array them around a curve. Um, and again, like for Unreal at least, like I haven't seen a performance hit between using regular lights noise wise in your images, in your final images, versus like a material light. Whereas like with 3ds Max and Corona, usually you want to use material lights kind of sparingly, just because they will add quite a bit of noise, especially into a darker like interior scene itself. And then, so for point lights, source radius, really, really love playing around with these settings here. So like the source radius and the soft source radius, these are really, really fun to kind of play around with. This not only affects just your real-time viewport, but it also affects what's happening in your path tracer as well. So like right now I have this set as like a value of 4 for the soft radius. Not sure. Oh yeah, you guys should be able to read that. And then here I'm transferring it back down to 0, 0, 0, which is the initial settings. So you can see here it's kind of like a really sharp light. It's not something like if you really kind of study lighting, you're not gonna like if you can kind of see the penumbras here like on the wall. You don't really get like such a sharp, crisp like transition of light to shadow. So you want to have like just like a little bit of like a nice fall off there to your lighting. So the source radius is always something that's that I like to add on to my lights itself. And then again, using it in the path tracer, I was like, there's no way these settings work with the path tracer as well. And then sure enough, it does. So anything that you're seeing in real time in Lumen, you'll see that actually be reflected in the path tracer as well. And then one of the other things that I wanted to kind of show off is like sometimes like for ArcViz, we have tons of light sources all over the place in our scenes, but we want to light our surfaces as best as we can, but that might induce unwanted visible lights in our scene. So one of the things that I found was to be when you toggle the visibility of your light mesh, what does it do? It goes away, and then it's not rendering inside of your scene. But if you find the effect indirect lighting while hidden, it'll keep it. And so I was like, that aha moment that I wish I, kind of knew at that time. It would have saved me a lot of time up front, but it took me a while to kind of struggle with that. And then one of the last things I wanted to showcase was just like the indirect light intensity. It's a bit of a cheat code in a way for your lighting. So like sometimes like these really dark shadows aren't desirable in ArcViz. We want to like have things as as light as possible. So you can always up your indirect lighting intensity to kind of boost up those shadows a little bit. But there are, of course, caveats to that. It will, of course, brighten up the whole entire area that your light is affecting. So it might blow out certain areas that are a little bit too light versus, too dark. So there's a balancing act for that. Yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, you can kind of see like lighting is kind of important, especially inside of Unreal Engine. So that's why I kind of wanted to talk and kind of impress a little bit of importance onto that, because it's just the lighting is so key to making an image. We have a lighting team inside of our office. I sit right next to them, and you learn so much from them, and then you're like, yeah, lighting is key, guys. So yeah, thanks for letting me nerd out with you guys.
Thanks, Andrew. Normally, of course, when we have two speakers, we would do Q&A after each speaker. Because we're doing 3 this time, we're keeping things moving. I also want to ask a bunch of questions there. Somehow during that talk, I both gained respect for Andrew and lost it at the same time. So we ended up right back in the middle. We're going to do just 2 minutes, stretch your legs if anyone wants to grab another pizza or something. Then we'll wrap up with June over here. Hope you're enjoying all this yummy fire hose of new knowledge right now. And I know a couple of people mentioned that the QR codes weren't working, so we've got those working now. Find the. Yeah, do you remember where the presentation was?
A slideshow.
Oh, there it is. Thank you. Yep. Oh, that's Andrew. Yeah, no, I need people were saying that they couldn't get into the Discord and all that.
It was on this.
Yeah, I put it on both. Oh, I think I emailed it to you.
No, that is it.
That is. Hey, sorry. Maybe?
No, that is it.
Where did it come from? I know I pulled it up. I'll email it one more time. It's silly.
Is it on the desktop?
Kevin's here. Here we go. I'm just emailing it to you again,
Okay.
or for the first time. I don't know.
I mean, because there's nothing downloaded recently.
Here.
Both later. Is it on?
No, it's just the camera's on. There we go. Oh, we are. I thought. Oh, it's because we're still doing that. I got it. We're not showing on Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. And then we'll pass over to you in just a minute. Great. Okay. There. Yeah. Oh wait. Oh, there's a new feature there. Share. Don't share. What? Cool. All right. A couple folks mentioned the QR codes weren't working. Those are now working. If anyone wants to hop in, communities, Discord, etc. We all have. Yeah. All right, settle. Cool. Thanks, everyone. Very excited to welcome Yu-Jun from my team. I've been working with June for a few years now at Agile. She's been the driving force behind our annual production of Christmas Carol, among the rest of the Agile team as well. And I'm very excited for you guys to get to see a little more about the show, as well as more reasons why you should come check out some live VR theater this year. Take it away, June.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you for clapping. Oh, yeah. Hello everyone. I'm June. I'm a XR creative technologist from Agile, and today I just want to share some experience of myself working on the Christmas Carol VR projects, as well as our recent experiment of using Unreal's replay system to capture our whole live show and replay it back into our standalone headset, and we're using MetaQuest. And actually, if you want to try it, we have some headsets over there. If anyone is interested, we can do a live test demo later. So for today, I'm mainly going to talk about a Christmas Carol VR, a bit of history of the show throughout the years, and then we will dive into a replay system, which is like the recent experiment we did. And finally, we'll show some result of it. So A Christmas Carol VR is our annual production. We have been doing it since 2021. We did it every year, and actually every year we try to find a way to not do it that year because it was so tired. That's the end of the year. Everyone just wants to go to holiday, and we are always too ambitious. So when we are closing to the showtime, everyone is still super stressful, and we are almost constantly updating our build throughout the showtime. Like we update our build 5 minutes before the showtime. And there's also one year I have to carry my laptop and run over to our office in Manhattan. I live in Brooklyn because our build is just so big and it only lives on my laptop. So I have to carry the build over and to catch the showtime. And also this year is a special year. We did 2 shows this year. One in the Rain Dance Festival, and the second one is actually right now. We are doing our live shows starting last weekend, and we will continue to do our shows every weekend till December 22nd, I believe. So this is the 2021 version. 2021, we have the in real life show as well as the VR show. This is a picture of the in real life show. So originally, this is an annual production from Actors Theater of Louisville. They were doing a one-man show that year, and we Agilans were brought into the production to create the digital characters. So like that's Marley you see over there. So we created them using MetaHuman. At the time, 2021, it was still a very new thing, MetaHuman. I think we started in 4.25. So, but now we have all those digital assets. We have the character, we have the mocap data, and we clean them, and we retargeted the animation, and also sync it with the audio and the facial animation, everything. So we feel like, okay, we have all these assets. Why don't we just do a little bit more to make it a full VR experience, make it the full VR show? It shouldn't be too hard, right? And Robert Barry Fleming, the director from Actors Theater of Louisville, he embraced the proposal and agreed to become also our VR version, also become the director of our VR version show. And this is our VR version. So as you can see, Scrooge and Dickens in the in real life version show was performed by the real person. So we have to find a person in VR to act as Scrooge and Dickens. And the actor we found is a very talented Ari Tar. Some of you might know him because he's really, he's a really talented VR performer in the field. And at that year, we are also super ambitious. We are trying to live stream every mocap data. Live, I already said it, but we were using a mixed match of Rococo mocap suit with accent hand gloves at the time. That was the best combination. And we used live link face for the real-time facial motion capture. So just go into a little bit of the technical pages here. These are all the things we tried to deal with that year. We Rococo suit, accents gloves, live link face, and we're running everything on virtual computers. So not mostly because it was cool and we have a platform for it, but also because everything is super heavy. MetaHuman is heavy, the scene is heavy, and we were not good at optimization. So it was like 50 or more gigabytes more of the size. So we were running everything on the super powerful cloud computers. It's called Avenue, and Alex and A10 actually built that platform. That was the platform we were using. It was powered by CoreWeave, and we used NVIDIA Cloud XR to stream it to Quest 2 at the moment. So even if it's a Quest 2, it was able to render like we use like LD0 for our metahumans, and we were doing cross simulations, and we're doing it in Unreal 4.27. We use all the good highest visual quality settings, and also we are dealing with like multiplayer issues, queuing systems to sync everyone together. So after 2021, we again think, okay, now we have all these good assets. Can we do more about it? And like, it feels such a shame that we just do 3 days of show and now we're not going to use this anymore. So we did a 13 minutes on-demand version. We record the live show, the live part of Scrooge and Dickens, and just edited in post into this 13 minutes version. And here's some of the behind-the-scene view of the queuing.
There is no
stage manager view, what
this
looks
must
like.
be
You can see
distinctly
this is just actually a development recording I did just to show that, okay, multiplayer
Scrooge
is
never
working.
painted out old Mark.
So we just use this on-demand version to do more kind of showcasing, share with other peoples what we did for that show. And the whole process of this 13 minutes version took about a month. And remember that we already have like 80% of the assets done. We just only did like a couple more motion capture. We edited together, but that took a month. And the purpose of doing replay system this year is actually hoping to speed up that process to less than a day. Another task we did during after 2021 is making it into a cloud editor. So we were hoping that we can provide all the tools needed, so anyone who are interested in making this kind of fully digital show will have a tool that you don't need to know coding, you don't need to know Blueprint, you can easily do it. And that was me testing Lightning Face on our web browser. So we were already using pixel streaming since everything we did was running on virtual computers. We already have that. We just like build on top of it, add another layer, and make everything editable. So like we have things like we can build the scene, we can assign animations, we can add weathers, like lights and everything. So these are all running on virtual computers. You just need a web browser link to access to it. So that's one more experiment we did. And another thing we did is build on top of the 13 minutes version on-demand version
Once upon a
Christmas
time,
Carol.
of all
We
the
just
good
took out the
days
face
in
and
the year,
allowed
on
people
Christmas
to
Eve.
use lifelink face
How now?
to
What do you want
do
with
your
me?
own performance.
If I was
So we
your
took out the
partner,
face, we
Jacob
took out the audio,
Marley.
but we
What
show the
better?
subtitles
Tell
on
me
it, so it's
why.
kind of like a karaoke.
I wear the chains, I forged
This
life, I
is
made
really
my leg,
just
I
for
grind
fun,
them
but
on my
we
own free will,
enjoy
and my own free will,
a
I'm
lot.
over
People
it.
can see it in
Is
VR.
that pattern strange
And we
to
can have multiple
you?
people
Vocal
controlling the
pattern,
avatar.
But would you know
And the
other
tool
way
is
to
really
night of
simple. You
this
just
strong
need
coil
an
you made
iPhone
yourself?
or a good enough
It was
iPhone
full
that
as
can do
heavy as
lifelink
long
face. Now we go to the next year. So the next year we want to make it simple because the first year the whole show is about like an hour and 20 minutes. Like it's a really long show, and we are really bad at multiplayer where something is wrong about our cloud computing system. So we crash every 15 to 20 minutes. So actually throughout the show, people have to rejoin the experience like 3 or 4 times, and that was such a torture. So we first want to shorten the show time, and we want to find a way to have a very reliable multiplayer session, or at least feels like a very reliable multiplayer session. So the truth is we never did a multiplayer session in this year. Instead, we use a method called open sound control. So we actually didn't replicate every player's movement or like the real-time movement of it. We just use open sound control over the touch OSC board to send out the cues. So everyone is able to see the scene progressing with everyone else at the same time. And we were only broadcasting the mocap data and audio data using the same way. So this year, these are the technical challenges we have. As you can see, we have different technical challenges, but we are still using pixel streaming. We are still running on cloud computers. But this year we have one more mode. Is we have 2D mode and as well as VR mode. Yeah, and so in the center is so actually we were planning to use multiplayer, and we were having like good progress about it. Every rehearsal, it was working fine. It was doing okay until 3 days before the show. It just suddenly, I commit something wrong and it's totally broken. So like in the center, you can see like there's a bed in the middle of lobby where it shouldn't be. And I cannot figure it out. So we just 3 days before the show totally transitioned to OSC and do this kind of fake multiplayer session where every computer is just running their single player instances and listening to an OSC event from Touch OSC. And that is Ari, our amazing performer. So after that, enter 2023. We are again, so we have this hot habit of reusing our ACC VR assets to do all kinds of experiments we want to do. And 2023 is the big year for AI.
So what can you tell me about this jet star of yours?
I have no idea what you're talking about, Charles, but what can you tell me about the production of Christmas Carol you're planning?
Oh, my apologies. Sometimes my old mind gets a bit muddled.
That's
now,
our,
about A Christmas
AI
Carol.
version of,
The planning process for this story was quite extensive. It took me a while to figure out how to perfectly capture the essence of the holiday spirit. But once the idea clicked in my mind,
that
the
is
words
Alex's
flowed out of
voice,
me like a
actually.
river.
So there is
It was a joyous experience, and to see it brought to life in this virtual adaptation is truly a treat.
We just started to play with in-world AI.
Charles,
and,
do you know what virtual reality is?
Oops.
Oh, that's
Try to increase the volume here because it's too loud in the other room.
Of course, my dear friend. While the concept of virtual reality may not have existed in my time, it is a fascinating development of modern technology.
So that is using
From what little
AI,
exposure to it that my ghostly form has had, it seems to be a way to
using,
transport oneself to another.
Okay, I guess Dickens can stop talking. So we experiment with a lot more plugins like Convey and, well, actually just in-world AI and Convey. But that was the first year we tried to use it, and it was so fun. So eventually we decided to include it into our show. So yeah, and the other experiment we did with ACCVR is MetaHuman Animator. That's also the year MetaHuman Animator came out. So we can see this is a comparison between applied on Dickens's avatar and
Rose Mrs. Cratchit, assisted
camera
by
feed
Lady
and the
Cratchit,
Ari
and 2 small
avatar
Cratchits,
created by
screaming
MetaHuman
and basking in luxurious thoughts of sage and onion. These young Cratchits danced about the table.
We like lightly face, but MetaHuman Animator just
the father,
adding
and
a
Tiny
lot more
Tim
details.
upon
You can
his
see the
shoulder.
little like muscle movement is really good.
Alas for Tiny Tim, he bore
Yeah,
a
and
little
so
crutch,
on the
and
left
had
side, you
his
see the
limbs
details. We actually
supported
do some kind of
by an
like
iron
gaze
frame.
correction on it, so it doesn't look
And
like
how did
the
little
way it
Tim
looks on.
behave? Oh, as good as gold and better.
Go to the next
Somehow.
page. Oops. Oh. Yeah, and then, that's very low resolution. In 2023, so 2023 is a big year. We did a lot more experiment and we were super ambitious that year. So that's a couple of things happened that year. First thing is that we have one more performer. We now have David here performing all the ghosts. And then we continue to have Ari performing Scrooge and Dickens. So now since we have all the characters we need, we can finally go fully live. So that is the first year everything is live. And that's also the first year we start to put everyone inside, all the performers inside the world.
Lost it.
And I will remember what I was talking about. Yeah, and so you can see that this year our performers, Ari and Daddy, they are wearing VR headsets. So they are fully immersed into the virtual world. Before that, Ari was using live link face. So if he's looking at the phone when he's performing, it basically makes the eye contact to the ghost very hard, and any kind of blocking is just the guesswork for him. So we finally are able to allow him to do the performance fully in VR, thanks to MetaQuest Pro's face tracking capability. I really hope to have a MetaQuest Pro 2, but it's not in the horizon. But yeah. The other thing we did is that, remember the terrible tragic happened to our multiplayer session last year? We were so frightened by multiplayer, so this year we built our own multiplayer system. Everything we did was not in Unreal sessions. We did every communication in OSC and WebSocket. So if you played with WebSocket or OSC before, for OSC, it is the receiver that needs to open the port. And for WebSocket, it's the sender that needs to open the port. And we don't want any of our audiences needs to open any port, so we do a mix match of these two. Only the server computer in our office, the precious computer we continue to use throughout the year, is needed to open any ports, and we're using OSC and WebSocket to do this very hacky way to do our own replication system. And we just expand the possibility of it. We are now live broadcasting every audience's movement, and they have their own special colors. They can do their like naming system, and we allow them to do like sending messages. Also, that is also a year we transition from running on virtual machines to a downloadable experiences. So now we also have to create a scalability system to control the quality, to allow it to run on every device that we want to allow people to run on.
If we open up the menu,
we also have like, yeah,
you type a name.
we can type names, we can send messages, and everything is replicated through not our real session. We're so frightened by our replication that year.
I've sent right down here. Okay, so then over
So
here,
that's our prompt.
Either bring the keyboard up
Blah,
or
blah.
down. I can see the mirror at any time in the game what I look like. I can also quit the show or go to the frequently asked questions page if things are weird. And if I don't feel like pressing that X button.
The other thing I want to show is our navigation system. That's also a year we massively upgraded our navigation system. I'll just pause there. So in this year we have like fly mode and teleport mode, and then we have this world control mode where you can just in real time scale the world to like tabletop theater, or just make yourself very tiny and everyone is just like a giant. That became our like kind of like a standard navigation way inside it. The next page. So yeah, we tried too many things this year. This is really that was really hard. And we will continue to use Rococo Suite, but because we're not running on like a very controlled cloud machine platform anymore, we have to find a way to broadcast all the Rococo full body motion capture data to everyone's computer around the world. My family is in Taiwan. They were also watching the show. We also have to try to, so yeah, it should be like really around the world. And also it is a downloadable experience, so we have to find a way to distribute it. We have to find a way to broadcast our audio. We still have AI Dickens there just to make it more difficult. And this is also the first year we try to use a Meta Quest Pro for facial tracking. We also have to find a way to broadcast that kind of data. And also we have Dickens and Scrooge now being two different avatars. So our performer Ari is actually jumping between two different avatars in the world all the time and performing with himself. There's also a lot of interesting coordination system challenge we have to solve when jumping back and forth over there. And now go to 2024. This year, we try to make things slowly. We don't have like too big ambitious this year. We just want to transition from PC VR to standalone VR because last year, everyone was running on different computer and running on different headsets. We were trying to accommodate Steam VR and Meta VR and all kinds of computers on the market. So this year we want to transition to standalone VR, and we are only exclusively working on Meta platform. So we only need to make sure Meta Quest Pro and Meta Quest 3 is running. And if that two device works fine, that will be it. So we try to simplify things. But so we are changing from PC VR to standalone VR. That means we need to do optimization. So we do like a huge optimization this year. We were able to bring our very unoptimized 30 gigabyte project into less than 1 gigabyte. So we can just upload the APK instead of trying to deal with OBB or patch OBB. I'm so happy. And also because of that, we can now just bring a headset to a party. So that's a picture from Alex. Just brought a headset to the party and force people to look at our show. Yeah, so that's all the thing we try to do, mainly optimize. And there are just some pictures of the weird things we did. We also added a tattoo on one of our avatar because the scene between his face and his body is very obvious, but you cannot see it now, right? Because we have the tattoo to cover it. Yeah, and there are just like some testing videos when we were testing like jumping from the VR view, and we were like mix matching Makopi and the Meta Movement SDK. So there are also like different coordination system we want to synchronize. Yeah, that's just last year. So this year we're finally going to, I'll try to be quick, but this year we're finally, we also want to keep things slow because we're feeling pretty good about the current status. Oh, and forgot to say, last year we finally overcame our scare with replication system. Last year we were using full replication system. Now we are finally using Unreal's native sessions and are benefit a lot from the broadcasting, the networking, and a lot of things inside. Of course, we got a lot of help from developers more experienced than us, like Charles. Shout out to Charles. Yeah, but so this year our goal is that we now already have a stable show running on the standalone headset. Now this year we want to have the ability to record the full live show and replay it back also on the standalone headset. And this is our current interface, or kind of a debug interface. So we will have the timeline. We can scrub through the recording timeline and play it at any moment. And let's dive into it. The replay system. The goal is we want to easily record the live show. We want to play it back on the standalone Quest headset. We want to be able to stream the replay on schedule. So if, say, I want to, tomorrow, 3 p.m., I want to start a replay show, then everyone around the world join or open our app in Meta platform is able to see the replay happen at 3 p.m. And if you are late, you are able to catch up with everyone else. If we're already in Christmas past, you have to be in past. You don't need to see like all the pre-show and Marley again. And finally, we want multiple people to be able to watch the replay together as if it is another live show. Like Fortnite. And this is our current result. It's kind of working. It's still not final. I still have something I want to add into it. So that's our like AI Dickens, beloved AI Dickens. And now if we press the debug button to start the replay, I can start to see like things playing back. I have a timeline. I can just scrub through, and it will jump me to the correct moment, and the audio is also syncing. And in this moment, I was still looking for avatars. Let me see. And so that's the moment when we do like recalibrate. His back was just like momentarily twist. So just jump ahead. Let me see, anything else? Yeah, so I'm just like scrubbing through the timeline there. And so we were able to scrub the timeline. We were able to play back the audio and stay in sync with the animation. We were able to keep up with the environment states wherever we jump to. And we're able to have the same navigation control as the VR pawn. And we also have a separated C++ replay plugin that works across projects. So now let's look at the first attempt when we first try it. When we first try it on Windows, everything kind of works. Like I am able to move around with the spectator cane, which was like, I actually didn't know I need to use a different pawn. So spectator pawn is like a different pawn class. I cannot just use my original pawn. And I was moving, and it's like the queue is firing. This is all in replay. We didn't record the mocap, but we know someone like Charles is going to help us. I'm not too worried about it. But then I tried it on Android, on MetaQuest, and basically nothing is working now. So let me see if I can show it. So like that additional pawn is meaning that I am recording this session. So I would just jump ahead to about like when I stop recording on the headset. So here I'm just like typing the console command to stop it. So I stop it, and then I was like very confidently start to try to replay it back. And we just being spawned into like the edge of the world. That's like not even my player start, and I have no control, I have no input. It's just like, and now like the music just randomly starts. So yeah, that's the very first attempt, and that's the beginning of this replay system journey. So before I dive into the tips and tricks about, or like just the things I learned, weird things I learned along the way, these are the replay system basics for anyone that is interested. There was not a bunch of replay system documentation online or like a nearby tutorial I can find. The latest I think is in 4.18, very close to us now. But so the replay system basics first is that it is using a thing called a demo.net driver to record the scene snapshots into the .replay file. You can find the .replay file in the save/demos folder. There are different kinds of streaming methods. So in theory, you can play it back locally or play from remote. And during the replay capturing, the server will spawn a spectator player controller and a pawn, but not the spectator pawn. I don't know why they do it that way, but that is very complicated for me. And then the engine treats the replay recorder as a network client. So replication will be crucial if you want to do anything in the replay system. If everything is local, nothing would be recorded. So just keep in mind that only the replicated data is being recorded. And there's 3 console commands you can try without C++. Demo rec to record the file, demo stop to stop it, and demo play to play back the file. So there's actually more console commands I can use, but that's the 3 that I knew when I first started to play with it. Oh, and also during replay playback, we are controlling spectator pawn. It is a special pawn class, different from the regular pawn. And it's actually the same pawn class you're using when you use the semicolon key to go into the debug camera view. So I thought that's the only purpose, but I didn't know it's also the same pawn we're using when we're doing replay playback. So a thing I learned. Now going to the tips and tricks and weird things I learned. So first thing, the bottom part is like about like how I categorize the weirdness of it. There's a lot of things different when doing replay system on Windows versus on Android, or maybe it's specific to Quest. That's the only Android device I tried. So maybe it's not the same when we're doing other Android devices. But so we need to start creating the spectator pawn from the spectator pawn class. That sounds like it's not important, but if you have a already very complicated VR pawn, if you want to replicate all the controls inside, I would want to just copy the pawn and reparent it into spectator pawn. It works on Windows, it doesn't work on Android. That's why I was spawned in the rear corner of the world and wasn't possessed and doesn't get any input. Second thing is the replay file is better to record on Windows, even if you want to play it back on Android. Any kind of replay file you recorded on Android, it's garbage. It doesn't work. Or maybe I don't know how to work properly, but it's easier to record on Windows. So this is a replay playback I did that I recorded on Android. And again, the music plays and I don't have my lobby. And I don't know why. But if I just record on Windows, then it will play fine. So I just avoid the problem by recording on Windows. And the second thing is, if we want to package the already recorded replay file into APK, so we have to do that because we are pushing it to Meta platform, and the only place that replay system is able to read is from the safe directory, and it is very complicated to change the safe directory. You have to go into C++, you have to modify the engine, which I never dared to touch. So I found a workaround way is to package the replay file into the APK, and then when it's being installed, or actually it's when the game starts the first time inside Unreal, you can extract the replay file and create a folder in your headset and put the replay file back to the correct place. The only thing you need to do is during package, do the additional non-asset directories to package and put your replay file somewhere in your content folder. And then, because I know I want to jump ahead, I cannot always press on the perfect moment to start the replay file. I always have like some blah, blah, blah before we actually go into the show. So I know I want to start from not 0, and I know I will need a way to jump ahead if I want to synchronize everyone's experience. And that is C++ only, or that's what I thought. That is only partially true. I can actually jump ahead using just a console commands, but I didn't know that. But if you want to start from not 0, that is really C++ only. And also, in addition to that, there's a lot more update documentation about replay system in 5.7. So if you really don't want to touch C++, 5.7 will be the version to go. And also that's just like the code to jump to go to time in seconds. And if you want to start from not 0, that's the code there. So I was forced to use C++. And now it's a good time to introduce myself. I am not a developer, or like I'm not a very technical person. And my background was in architecture. I'm more a designer than a developer. I never learned any kind of computer languages before. I don't know how to use C++. So I rely on ChatGPT. So that's my conversation with ChatGPT. And I found a very ancient tutorial on the archived version of Wiki Unreal Engine, which doesn't exist anymore. And the very latest one is at like, I think the version is like 5.0, 5.0.5, which is just like even barely, it's not even 5.1. But yeah, that's the resources. And there's a person called Michael J. Cole kindly uploaded to his GitHub. And that's where I find like a sample code I can start with. So I just put it in, and at the moment we're at Oculus Fork 5.5. So I just put it in and compile it and a bunch of errors. So I just have this communication with ChatGPT to let it help me fix all the issues. And it worked eventually. I didn't have high hope, but it worked. How amazing. So yeah, for all the people that doesn't know how to do C++, there's still hope. Another thing is, so after Unreal version 4.20, we changed from using the null streamer to local file streamer, and there's no replay info file anymore. But replay info file was the place that stores the total duration of my playback. So for my purpose, I need to know the total duration of my playback to build my beautiful timeline, scrubbable timeline. I need to know it. But I didn't have the information. And so I have to generate one myself. actually find a way to just manually generate it. And again, ChatGPT did the code, I just paste it in. But now I can generate a replay info along with my replay file. And as long as I put them together in the same place, I'll be able to get all the data I need. And reminder, again, just like replay really only records the replicated stuff. So if you want to even just like set some variables on tick and make sure you so make sure it is like a multicast event or some kind of networked event. If you're doing like unicast, you have to very specifically record those unicast events. For those, like for me, like a not super technical person, just do a multicast. Just do a multicast event that will be recorded. And some replay specific behavior. There's a very useful node. It's called, you can grab replay subsystem inside Blueprint and check if it is playing. So I have an actor just put all my replay logic inside, and I use is playing to decide the behavior. If it is not playing, I want to record things. If it is playing, I want to just trigger different things like play the audio or sync to the current status using the saved variables I recorded. And there's also like a super quick way to, when you are doing a replay playback, if you remember the 3 console commands, there's no like stop playback console commands, but a hacky way to stop the playback is just reopen the map again. But you open the map, so I feel like it's maybe wrong, and feel free to correct me. I feel like when you're doing a replay playback, it's kind of opening the same map, but in a very specific game mode using specifically the replay pawn and replay controller. So if I just reopen the if I just reopen the map in a normal way, it will fall back to use the usual VR pawn. So yeah, easy way to stop the playback is open level. That was a surprise for me. And after go to timing replay, basically just like after you jump to a different timing replay, spectator pawn doesn't got respawn, but every other actor got respawn. So that means every other actor will fire the begin play event again, and that can make things very messy. So a thing I did is that after I do a replay jump to, I also have a event to tell this BP replay actor to fire this event called sync to current state. So you can imagine that will be problematic because right after I jump to the specific time code, that actor got respawned. So it will not have all this, it got reset. Everything inside is null. And so I have this problem that before I fix the code, you can see that I have like this delay event, and it's being fired whenever I restart at begin play. But because it was also being killed and respawned like the moment, so it feels like the delay doesn't work, but actually delay is working. The problem is because it's being reset. So yeah, it can create like weird things like that. Another weird thing is the child actor components. I think that it already caused a lot of issues in just general replicated games, but if you're doing replay, it also disappears whenever you jump in time in replay playback. So yeah, don't trust child actor components. And child actor component, oh yeah, so this is just like a recording to prove that it's real. Like you see the red arrow just disappeared. Like, and the thing below is just another widget I attached directly to the pawn. That stays. Yeah, and also another fun thing is that because replay only record events, and the thing that fires can be changed. If the thing you fire is local, so like in this one, I actually doesn't really need to play it, but this is just like during one of the rehearsal, we are recording the whole thing, and there was an issue in this queue during the rehearsal. So at this moment, everything in the world is black. And we're just saying like how everything is black, but we should continue and hope this will get fixed in the future. And now we're playing back. Let me see if we can hear it. Probably around here. Yeah, it's just like, it was just saying like, we have issue in this queue, but because we play it back in a updated environment that we already fixed the sound, we already fixed the queue. So now we can see the full rehearsal with the correct cue, and we can like change the music or like change the scene. and it would continue to work with the same replay file. And then another thing is we want to store all those key data on tick. That is mainly for our own purposes, because whenever we are firing a queue, we're only firing it once. And whenever we jump in time in the replay playback, all the variable got reset. So we have to wait for another queue being fired to catch up on that queue. So just that if you want the jump in time or go to time functionality, you have to find a way to store all those data. In the live show, we were storing all the data on the server because the server is always running, always have the current status. But on a replay playback, you have to store it somewhere. And that's how we use it. The multicast save state might not be the best way to do it. It might be expensive unnecessarily. But if you do that, it will save. It will work. Now the result is fast. Is come to see 2025 ACC VR if you have a headset, or you can come to us later to try in the headset over there. Thank you all so much. That's my last page.
Thank you. All right, so yes, please do come see Christmas Carol. Again, we've got the replay files in the headsets. We want SVA to be happy that we use their space and not sad, so everyone please dispose of your trash. We are going to kind of wrap up here over the next 10 minutes or so and start to make our way over to Jake's Saloon on 23rd Street. And thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Hope to see you at NYVR, the holiday party coming up, or, you know, our next Unreal NYC next year in 2026. Thanks so much. Yay. Great work. That was fun.
We had a lot of issues, so I tried to focus on just one. You were mentioning about spectator qualm and then